Jake here for American Trucks, and today I'm taking a look at the Flowmaster FlowFX dual rear exit exhaust for 2019 and newer 5.3 liter Silverado 1500s with the factory dual exhaust. An exhaust can make or break the driving experience of your truck, and if you're looking for a noticeable yet subtle way to update your truck's sound and performance, then this FlowFX system is going to appeal to you. Coming in at a 2 out of 5 on our loudness meter, this system combines a slick OEM looking setup with a more subtle version of that classic Flowmaster sound at an affordable price point, making it perfect for the daily driven truck. A Flowmaster exhaust and a Chevy V8 is a classic combination, but it's so easy to go overboard on noise. If you want that classic Flowmaster look and sound, but you don't want to go around rattling the windows or getting your neighbors irritated, then the FlowFX system is for you. Now, unlike a lot of other exhausts, this one is really not super loud. As you heard in the clips at the beginning of the video, you still get that nice deep V8 soundtrack when you get into it, but at idle or even just cruising around, the sound is much more mild and relatively unobtrusive. It's a moderate step up from a stock system. Now, there will be a difference in volume and tone to the exhaust versus your stock system, but not so little that you won't notice it at all. It's definitely there. Now, inside the cabin, you're certainly going to hear it more than you would your stock system, but it won't be so loud that you can't carry on a conversation, nor will you get tons of drone either. So for a daily driven truck or one that's going to see a lot of highway miles or road trips, that is a great benefit. You're going to get that sound that you want with none of the annoyances that sometimes come with aftermarket exhausts. Now, although Flowmaster calls this FlowFX muffler a straight-through unit, you can see that there are some baffles in there. You can hear it too. Hence that much more mild tone than something like, say, their Outlaw series. So this is going to contribute to keeping drone at bay, helping make for a much more pleasant drive without too much noise. By now, you've also probably noticed that this system does not include any additional tips, and that is because it is designed to utilize the factory exhaust bezels in your rear bumper. Now again, it keeps with that theme of subtlety. To the untrained ear or eye, they probably wouldn't even notice that you modify your truck, but you're going to know, and once you step on it, people certainly will take notice. Now, the lack of tips here is also a bit of a cost savings out of the gate, and if you decide that you want to go with some different tips later on down the line, you've certainly got the flexibility to make that happen. But for now, you've still got a good looking, nice sounding option right out of the gate that doesn't require you to modify anything else on your truck. Construction is all 409 grade stainless steel, so you're going to get some good rust and corrosion protection, though not quite so much as T304 stainless. However, you also don't get the price tag of T304, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. Now, the piping here is all 3-inch mandrel bent in front of the muffler, which is these pipes right here, and then 2.5-inch pipes running out all the way back to the end of it. Now, that means you're going to get really good exhaust flow, and it's going to help reduce back pressure as well. These rear sections are also designed to perfectly clear the spare tire underneath your truck, going in exactly the same place as your stock setup does, so you don't need to modify anything or leave your spare tire at home. Pricing for this system is another big selling point in my book, as it comes in at just about $850. Now, it's not the cheapest system out there, but it does far undercut a lot of the other options for these trucks. And for what you're getting, I do think it's worth the price. You're saving a bit versus a full T304 grade stainless setup, but it's still a good quality system, and it's going to sound better than stock and avoid some of the drone issues that cheaper exhausts might have. Installation for this one will get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and it should take you about 2 hours to get it all done. Everything you need is included in the kit, even new clamps. You also get an extension in the kit for the inlet pipe should you need the extra length to accommodate for a larger cab or bed length. Instructions on which trucks need it are included in the box as well, and if you need to make a cut to this, you've got instructions in there as well, which you may need to do depending on your stock cab and bed length. Otherwise, this is a pretty simple bolt-on system, and it's going to utilize all of your factory exhaust hanger locations, so there's no modification needed to your truck. Certainly a job that you can accomplish at home in your garage or driveway. And with that, let's throw it over to one of our AT customers who's going to show you that process now.
All right, so here's a quick rundown on everything that I used for installing the Flowmaster FlowFX exhaust. Safety goggles, safety glasses, silicone spray, any sort of spray will do. I have the tire irons there, but I highly recommend you use the exhaust removal tool instead. A flathead screwdriver, deep 15mm socket, a 5/8/16mm wrench, 9/16/14mm wrench, 1/2-inch/13mm wrench, and then the respective sockets there as well, 14mm, 12mm, as well as 15mm, and a 1/2 inch as well, an extension, and then your standard ratchet. And other than that was it. I mean, I did have a lift as well, or a floor jack, I should say, when it came to removing the exhaust, but following the actual directions that Flowmaster gives, this is everything that I did use. Hello everyone, Scott Newby here, and I'm going to install the Flowmaster Flow FX dual rear exit exhaust on my 2020 Chevrolet Silverado 1500. So this is the first flange that they want you to remove. It is right behind the spare tire on the Chevy Silverado 1500. There are also exhaust hangers on each side since it's the dual rear exit, and we're just going to make sure that we remove those. And then after that, you will see here's another exhaust hanger that they want you to pop out and remove as well. And then here's where they want you to cut, basically from the muffler back. And like I said, I'm gonna try to remove this whole entire thing without doing that. So we'll see if we can do it. And first thing we're gonna do though is remove the bolts out of these exhaust flanges. So the first thing the instructions tell you to do is to remove the bolts from this flange right here, one on each side. This is the spare tire, at least the shield to the spare tire, and honestly, that's what I'm just going to go ahead and remove. That's not in the instructions. I mean, they don't even tell you what size nuts are on the flange here, but I'm going to go ahead, remove the spare tire shield, the spare tire as well, because according to the tip that I found, you can remove the entire exhaust if you do remove this, and honestly, it's just easier to work around on, especially when I don't have the truck on a lift. So before I go ahead and remove this flange and even like the exhaust brackets and all that stuff too, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. And so for those of you who don't know how to remove the spare tire, at least on your Chevy Silverado, what you're gonna do is come to the back bumper. You're gonna open up this little window here, and then on your key fob that you have, you push a little button on the side. That's gonna pull out your key, and you put it inside here. You turn it and you pull out this whole entire cylinder here, set that off to the side, and then inside your truck you're gonna have your spare tire tools, and you just feed it all the way in there to the end, and then you just make sure that you're matched up to the cylinder that's inside there. And once you are, you'll click in and you'll start dropping the tire down. As you can see, it's really quick and easy to do. Actually drops relatively fast, which is nice. So not a whole lot of additional work so far, especially if it saves us a bunch of grief. So fingers crossed that is the case. And now the spare tire is down, dropped it out of the way. We're gonna move all 6 of these bolts on the guard for the spare tire. And it is a 1/2 inch that we use. I'm in there super tight, so I'm gonna go ahead and at least get them loose. And like I said, I have my safety goggles on. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen each one and then take them out after that, just because this whole thing is gonna come down and I don't want it to be flopping or even nail me in the face or anything. Okay, hopefully I can loosen these up by hand. Kinda, sorta. Things are way longer than I expected. Oh, laying down, there's one. Okay, so we'll even see if they're all the same length as well. Just being stubborn. Same size. Same size. Same size. Same size. This to be the determining factor if the sizes are different at all. But I don't think so at this point. Oh, see? Last one. Glad I have these glasses on. Feel things falling in my face. And bye-bye. Alright, next step is this flange that's right behind where the spare tire was. Takes a 1/2 inch nut as well, and you either have to have a deep socket or just go ahead and use one of these wrenches. So that's all I'm going to do because I don't want to go downstairs and have to go get mine. Alright, now anyone that has removed an exhaust knows you gotta take the exhaust out of these hangers. It's got the rubber part. Thankfully there's no kind of spot here that keeps it in. So all I need to do is just remove it from the joint that we just loosened up. It looks like we can just push it forward a little bit, and we've at least removed the driver's side of the exhaust. Alright, easy peasy. The other ones I will not be that lucky on. There's an exhaust removal tool for these that just kind of clamps on the backside, pushes it out. It is quite costly. I don't do enough exhaust systems because I just have personal vehicles, and that is an option to do, but thankfully this side did remove quite easily. So now we're gonna start unbolting the other flanges and work our way up forward. All right, now we move to the front, basically the passenger side, right underneath the front seat essentially where this manifold is, and just gonna go to the top of this. It is also a 1/2 inch nut, and loosen this clamp that is on it, because we're basically just working with everything from here back. Like I said, we loosen, we don't tighten. Pretty tight quarters, so I'm using the standard wrench here as well. Wish I got the ratcheting style, because it saves me a lot of time and energy. It is loose enough to where I can just get it by hand on this side as well, which is nice. I'm going to reuse this clamp. We're going to reuse this clamp according to the instructions. So there's a tab on the top that we need to use, or that is attaching this to it. So I'm not sure if I need to cut it off or break it off, but at least going to loosen this up as much as I can, because I can't just spin it around the side. But the exhaust is now officially loosened there. Okay, so here are when tools come in very handy. The proper tools, that is, because these exhaust hangers are very difficult to remove if you don't have the proper tool. Up top here, there's a mushroom style. It's the same thing on the end of this hanger bracket that's coming off the exhaust. And essentially this whole entire thing is kind of like a damper for the exhaust, and it keeps it to where it can still move around. It's not going to be rattled, it's not going to be noisy. And they work extremely well for keeping the exhaust on. So I do have a motorcycle tire iron that I'm just going to try to use to leverage. You basically want to be able to push this post part out towards this way and push the bracket down, and ideally it pops out. I actually sprayed some silicone lubricant on it, left it there for a little while just to be able to loosen things up a little bit. So we'll see if this does us any good, and we can work any magic on it. There we go. So that was way easier than I thought it was gonna be. Oh, so there. Now we have removed the first one. As you can see, that button part of it is what works extremely well on these things, and you will aggravate yourself to no end if you don't have the proper tool. So it's kind of those things where if it's worth spending the money on it, or if you're not changing that exhaust a lot like I am, then is it worth doing? But it's one down. We're gonna work our way towards the back of the truck and get the others. Okay, giving it some time, so see if I can just pop these things off. Now that I let that silicone spray settle a little bit. It's not easy to do. It's not fun to do. Hate these things. Whoever invented them though, I mean, A+ for effectiveness, that's for sure. There we go. Woohoo! Okay, now we can move the top side even more to do the same. Struggle is real, my friends. Yeah. Here we go. Yes, sweet. Success on that one. So right now, I have all of the exhaust hangers removed except for the one at the end by the exhaust tailpipe, the passenger side, which that one's easy, it just slides right out. But that's just holding the rest of the exhaust on right now. And instructions recommend you cut the exhaust right about here. That way you can just pull out the back end and then you just drop the muffler. Everything's easy peasy. Like I said, I just want to make sure that I have stock to go back to if I ever need it. Never know when, never know why, but just in case. And I haven't found any videos on how to quite do that, other than a couple that actually say you drop the drive shaft, so on and so forth. Well, I'm not looking to do that, so as you saw, I moved the spare tire, moved the heat shield around the spare tire, whatever guard that is around the spare tire there too. And supposedly, when this piece comes out, or at least when you drop the back hanger, you can pull it out, turn it upside down, turn the exhaust upside down, and then the rest of the way, it should be able to slide out. We're gonna find out if that is true, if that is the case, and I really do hope that I can do that because I do not want to cut my stock exhaust at all. Heck, who knows, you might even be able to sell it too, but regardless, I just don't want to cut the thing. So I'm gonna cut this clip at least, and reposition so I can see if that actually works. So this is the exhaust hanger that's on the back. It doesn't have the mushroom end like I talked about. Here's the rear bumper, and it's just one bolt that's holding it on, so I'm probably actually just going to remove this rear bolt because I can't get enough forward or reverse movement from it without it dropping the entire exhaust from the front. And so I'm just going to take this one bolt out and just kind of drop it down from this end first. Oddly enough, it's a 15mm bolt, and it's just that one that's holding it on. Alright, so I can finish it by hand, so I'm going to. I think I'm just going to actually slide it off and then mount it right back up. As you can see, the whole entire thing drops off now. Nope, so I'm just going to sit up to the side and it still doesn't make a difference. So plan B, I'm gonna go look back up the front, see what we got going on there, just so I can get the exhaust down and lowered, and I just don't want it to drop completely and just smash and blow my ears out. So I'm gonna go see what we're working with up front and make sure that I'm not still attached anywhere. So that's all it was. It was just being held up front right here where it's connected to those front manifolds. So all I had to do is just pull a little bit. I actually went up just to check to see what it was, and it fell out and everything. So that's all it was. Now I'm going to go to the back end and try just to finagle this entire thing out in one fell swoop and in one big piece. Yeah, so silly me raising up the body, added substantially more room to work with. So I'm gonna go back and go back underneath up front and see if I can get this thing out here now, which there's a ton of room, and now my hopes aren't dashed for not having to cut it. Of course, that being said, since I raised it up, ensure the parking brake was on and all that good stuff too. Ho, ho, ho. Yeah, buddy. Beautiful. That worked. They recommend that you do cut the exhaust and remove it. It's honestly extremely simple to take off, not having to cut it anytime you need to remove your Silverado exhaust. Here's the tip. Drop out, take out your spare tire, take out the heat shield, the guard that goes with that spare tire as well. And then when you do take off the exhaust hangers and you unbolt everything for the stock exhaust, all you need to do, make sure that you raise up the truck to where you're not actually raising it from the axle, just raise it from the body. That we get a lot more space between the axle and the body. Turn the stock exhaust upside down, and then just drop it straight through the back, pull it straight through the back. It literally is that easy. So I'm stoked, I'm happy, and now, best of all, I get to put that Flowmaster FlowFX pipe on here, which is the whole point of this video, not removing the stinking stock one, but let's get to that now. Okay, next step, which is super simple. We're using this clamp, so there's just a little tab that you need to bend up with a flathead screwdriver, and then it just comes right off, and we're gonna reuse this piece. Okay, now back to the exciting part. The whole point of this video build here is installing the Flowmaster exhaust. Much better. So we're back at the front of the vehicle underneath the passenger side, and we have the clamp that removed off of the stock exhaust. That clamp is going to go back onto the stock piece here, and then you're going to bring the long straight pipe that comes with the Flowmaster and butt it up to that spot, while also making sure that you have enough room for the exhaust hanger to go in. I'm just holding with my right hand the back side here where the exhaust hanger is, and then again just getting this kind of finger tight just to hold it in place a little bit, because we're going to need a lot more maneuvering in the back for installing the other pieces. Okay, here's a critical thing to point out. If you have the long bed crew cab, there's an extension that goes on here before you connect in your muffler. But I do not have the long bed. I do have a crew cab, but it's a 5-foot 8-inch bed on it, so I don't have to worry about adding that extension in. All I'm going to do here is put the muffler on, and then you have these 3-inch clamps. They're going to go on to this part as well as the muffler. I'm going to mount up, and then there are clamps that go on the outlet the other side. And I'm just going to kind of set it here for now, because we're going to do some adjusting to everything. And this here is, oddly enough, a 15mm bolt. That seems to be the size that works best. Or excuse me, a 15mm nut. Probably not going to tighten that here right now, because we still do have a lot of adjusting to do since there's so many pieces that come together for this Flowmaster exhaust. But we've at least got the heart of the beast on right now. Getting exciting. And then continuing on, outlet side of the muffler, we are adding on other clamps that go onto it. And now actually I'll go get the other outlet pipes. Are going to go here to exit out the back. Just a personal preference for me, but I actually have the nuts on the outside of the clamps here and of the muffler, just because it's easier to access on either side. So might be something worth noting, but just wanted to point that out. Okay, so now we're gonna move through and put in each side of the exhaust. Carefully put it over the axle and then insert it into the exhaust hanger. And of course from there, connect it to the muffler. And don't tighten up the clamp yet, because again, we're gonna do that all much later. And of course, make sure you have the right one on each side. Now we're adding in the driver's side exit pipe that goes towards the rear bumper, which is going to take a little bit of maneuvering around the rear axle, but definitely not as bad as when the entire thing is together like the stock one. So make sure you got your clamp on, insert it in, and bring it down and get it on your hanger. So I'm not going to tighten everything down like I mentioned before, just because it's going to still take a lot more adjusting and maneuvering. I can already tell just by looking at things to make sure I'm all lined up. So as of now that I have the other exhaust hangers and everything put on these pipes that go from the muffler back, it stays on here a lot better, so I'm not worried about anything falling off or any of that at all. But just do not forget to tighten them up. Now we're going to go back and do the final pieces that are going to go around the spare tire. It looks like it auto started for me, which I know if I have the right side. Oh, sweet. Okay, so tell you what, looking at it here now, that bolt is super on, man. Okay. So, just have the bolt down low. It's mounting it this way, so it'll be going in this way. And let's see if I can make it all work and come together this time. There we go. That works much better. So now I'm going to grab the bolt back and let's see. There's a tab that's on this exhaust hanger here. Just gonna make sure that I'm getting it properly aligned. I'm disorienting myself here. Where are you at? There it is. Okay. Now we're back in business. And I'm going to put this bolt back in. This bolt for the exhaust hanger, you can go ahead and tighten up. You don't have to be worried about it needing any adjustment or anything later, because you'll actually want this one tight when you're going to adjust all your exhaust things. Oh, yep. Okay. Alright, exhaust hanger bolt is now once again secure. I have the clamp on. I'm going to move to the driver's side. Okay, so on the driver's side, I went ahead and removed the exhaust hanger clamp over here on this side as well, just for ease of everything, since the final exit needs to go into the bumper and you're trying to get in the exhaust hook into this hanger, and also getting it to where your lined up on the other side as well. So took that bolt out, and now don't forget once again your clamp for the exhaust. This is the same 63.5 millimeter. I have it to where once again the nut is facing the installed tire, not the spare tire, just because it's going to be easier to access once that spare tire is installed. And just going to have it mounting up here, slowly but surely, finagle it in, make some adjustments, spinning this around. See, that's why we don't have that hanger installed yet, because it does take some tweaking in order to make it all the way in there. Now you just have to make sure that you have that tab properly inserted to the frame here, and then you go and get your bolt and washer to mount this exhaust hanger back up. And exciting to say, I actually have the exhaust installed. Now all I need to do, once I tighten down this exhaust hanger all the way, is go back through and tighten up all the clamps. I'm going to do that pretty much 100%, and then I'm going to install the spare tire as well. Start it up, listen to it, drive around for a little bit, and then once it cools off, I'm just going to go back down and just make sure the clamps and everything are still tightened after driving around for a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead, at least tighten down this exhaust hanger, and then start making my way back up towards the front. One other quick thing too here I want to note is that Flowmaster provides you with these washers that essentially go on the ends of the exhaust hangers. That way they do not slide off instead of having that mushroom end to it. I'm not going to install those yet because I want to make sure I get good mileage on the exhaust first in case I need to adjust it all, make any sort of tweaks or anything like that. So I'm leaving that off for now, but that would be your standard kind of wash that you just slide on the end, and as you can see, it's kind of a cut on each one to where it just prevents it from sliding off at all.
That about wraps it up here for our review and install of the Flowmaster FlowFX dual rear exit exhaust for 2019 and newer 5.3 liter Silverado 1500s with the factory dual exhaust. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, for all things Silverado, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.